Hi there, my name's Bruce Rain from Brankus Creations. I'm a vintage Mac collector and repairer, and one of the things I constantly get asked is what can you do with these old Macs? They're so old, so slow, what purpose could they possibly serve? This has inspired me to put together this collection of my 10 favourite Macintosh games for playing under the OS9 operating system. Some of these games will actually run on much earlier operating systems, but what they all have in common is that they can be played under OS9 and they won't run natively under OS X. Civilization by Microprose. When I first started playing games, I was all about strategy. I think Warlords was probably the first strategy game I played, followed by Civilization. I also loved and played Civilization II, but I think I prefer the original with its top-down graphics rather than the perspective graphics of Civ 2. If you haven't played Civilization, it was released for PC in 1991 and later released for Mac in 1993 and came on 4 floppy disks. The premise is pretty straightforward. You need to build a civilization to stand the test of time. You start with a map of squares. Each square is of a particular terrain that will provide different resources. The map starts off blank, and as you move around, you gradually reveal the different squares. You need to choose the best location to build cities to give them the best chance of growth. You are also sharing the map with other civilizations played by the computer. You build military units to defend your civilization or to attack other civilizations. Scientific research allows you to expand your scientific knowledge to allow for military, transport, or infrastructure improvements. The aim is to grow your civilization and make it better than every other civilization on the map. You can win the game either by creating a spaceship capable of colonizing another planet, or by destroying every other civilization on the map. The game is easy to learn but hard to master. It has interactive help for newbies and lots of built-in reference material. It's a game that can gobble up days. When I was younger, I would find myself wasting an entire weekend playing Civilization, and I find it just as engaging to play today. Now is the time for my confession. I quite like using game cheats, so if you're like me, make sure you get the Civ Cheat application that allows you to open up a saved game, then add all sorts of extras like gold, settler units and discoveries, or to reveal all hidden parts of the map. Civilization has had many sequels and newer versions can be played under OS X and on iOS devices. To my knowledge, the original game can only be played on older Mac hardware that still supports OS 9 or earlier, or via emulation. Myst by Cyan. Without a doubt, my favourite type of game is the 3D graphical adventure category, also known as Myst-style games. And if we're going to look at my favourite Myst-style games, we should probably start with Myst. In the early 90s, a new data storage medium entered the mainstream market, the CD-ROM. Prior to this, games had to fit on floppy disks. One of the early games to take advantage of this new medium was Myst. The extra data storage allowed for 2,500 beautifully rendered frames, one for each view direction from every location the player can occupy in the game. This allowed for an incredibly rich style of gameplay. Add some moody music and some creepy sound effects and you start to feel like you're completely immersed in the environment. As a Mac user from way back, I also loved that the game was designed using Apple HyperCard software on Macintosh computers like the Quadra 700. The 3D illustration and rendering was achieved using Strata Vision 3D software, which was an older version of the Strata Studio 3D software that I actually used for 3D modelling back in the 90s. Strata software was used for a couple of other Myst-style games as well, like Secrets of the Luxor and Riddle of the Sphinx. In the game, you click on the page of a book and are whisked away to Myst Island, where you must move around, explore, gather clues and solve puzzles to progress. There are no time restrictions and no one is trying to kill you, so you can wander around at your own pace, taking it all in. Sometimes you will come across a live-action video, usually featuring the game creators Robin and Rand Miller, who play the parts of the game characters Cirrus and Achenar. During the game, you are teleported to a number of different worlds or ages, such as the Stone Ship Age, the Mechanical Age, the Channelwood Age, and the Selenetic Age. Each one brings its own set of challenging puzzles. There are a number of possible endings, but only one of them is the desired outcome. You need to search for book pages to help free Cirrus and Achenar from their imprisonment. Myst was originally released in 1993, then in the early 2000s, Real Myst was released, which was a free-roaming, interactive version of the game, unlike the pre-rendered still images of the original. There isn't a lot new in Real Myst, just greatly improved graphics and interactive 3D. Myst was rewritten from the ground up in 2020 to take advantage of the improvements in computer hardware and graphics using the Unreal Engine, a real-time 3D game engine. It is absolutely magnificent to play and allows you to experience the most incredibly detailed graphics. If you're a fan of the original, you owe it to yourself to try out the new version. It's truly dazzling. They have also added multi-language support and puzzle randomization, in case you want to play it again with some new challenges. You can't help but chuckle to see that the new release of Myst is nearly 10 gigabytes, nearly 20 times the file size of the original CD-ROM game. The original Myst, Real Myst, and the brand new version are also available on iOS. Doom 2 by id Software. Doom 2 was released for Mac in 1995 and was very similar to the original 1993 Doom, just with some new enemies and new and more complex maps. The increased complexity coincided with computer hardware advances since the original release. I can't imagine anyone in the world who doesn't know about Doom, but just in case, it's a first-person shooter, or FPS, where you play the part of a space marine fighting off zombies and demons. You walk around searching for weapons, ammo, armour, first aid kits and keys, with the primary goal of finding the exit to the current level in order to advance to the next level. And try not to get killed in the process. You start with a pistol and your fists, but throughout the game you will find a chainsaw, a shotgun, super shotgun, chain gun, rocket launcher, plasma rifle, and the BFG 9000. The levels get more difficult as you progress, with new and more powerful enemies encountered along the way. You can refer to a map of the level, but it will only show you places you have already visited. There are also a number of secret locations that reveal stores of extra weapons, ammo, or first aid kits, and occasionally an unexpected foe. The original Doom was an overnight sensation, and many would argue that it was the most influential piece of software ever released when it comes to the FPS genre. And it has also spawned the new pastime of porting Doom to run on, well, just about anything with a CPU. I can play Doom on my Kodak DC265 digital camera, and someone even managed to get Doom running on an IKEA smart light bulb. I must confess that I get pretty bored with FPS games, and I get more enjoyment from exploring the maps than I do trying to kill everything and win the game. This is why I use these two cheat codes, IDDQD for God Mode, which makes you immortal, and IDFA for all weapons and ammo. There are plenty of other cheats, but these are the ones I use. Just type the letters at any stage during the game. And I would like to go on record saying that I enjoyed the Doom movie with Dwayne Johnson and Carl Urban. It's no masterpiece, but it's creepy and moody, and I liked it. If you've seen it, please leave a comment in the chat with your thoughts about it. The Doom game has had many sequels, and the original Doom and Doom 2 have been ported to run on modern Apple Silicon Macs without emulation. There are links in the description. Secrets of the Luxor by Mojave. Once I had caught the bug for Myst-style games, I wanted more. Secrets of the Luxor came on 2 CDs and was a hybrid installation, meaning it could be installed on either Mac or PC. Mojave Games was a subsidiary of Strata, the company that made the 3D software used to create Myst. When Strata saw the potential of Myst-style games, they decided to get in on the action and make their own, so they formed Strata Interactive, which later became Mojave Games. Needless to say, the 3D graphics were created and rendered using Strata 3D software, working on PowerPC Macs and Mac clones. The game was built using Macromedia Director. Secrets of the Luxor was one of the many Myst-style games released in 1996, and it received fairly lukewarm reviews. And while I totally agree with many of the reviewers' comments, for me it fulfilled the brief of a good 3D adventure with nice 3D rendered graphics and an immersive soundtrack. However, it didn't feel anywhere near as polished as some of the other Myst-style games released around the same time. Secrets of the Luxor didn't really provide anything new to the game genre, and better Myst-style games were constantly entering the market. In the game, you are an archaeologist researching an ancient pyramid. This leads to the discovery of what looks like a spacecraft, and then you are transported into a future world. Some of the puzzles are particularly clever, but at times they can also be annoyingly difficult. You pick up inventory along the way which can be accessed at any time by clicking on your backpack. There is also a camera that allows you to take photos during the game. At one stage in the game there are quite a few symmetrical alien corridors with very simple geometry that seemed like a bit of a cheat for the 3D illustrators. And some of the transitions between environments are particularly clunky. There are some video animations, some contribute to the story, others seem quite unnecessary, one of which is extremely weird and trippy. The navigation can be infuriating. Sometimes when you turn you rotate 90 degrees, other times you rotate 180 degrees, so it's really easy to lose your bearings. But despite my criticisms, I still really enjoy playing this game and always become totally immersed. There are some occasions where your character can be killed in this game, so be sure to save often. The game has an interesting feature in the form of some VR goggles. When your character puts them on, they give a full 360-degree view of some environments, but this is definitely more gimmick than it is part of the actual gameplay. Mojave Games doesn't exist anymore, so Secrets of the Luxor has never had any updates or re-releases. In order to play it on a Mac, you'll need some OS9 capable hardware or run the game under emulation. Warcraft II by Blizzard. Warcraft II is the sequel to the original 1994 Warcraft, another strategy game played out on a map of little terrain squares. The full title of the game, Warcraft: Orcs vs Humans, will give you a pretty good idea of the game's premise. You can opt to play either as orcs or humans, and you must explore, mine gold, harvest lumber, and then build structures. This allows you to feed and train troops, defend your lands, and attack the opposition. The original Warcraft graphics were pretty crude and blocky, which is why I prefer playing Warcraft II over the original. You are given a series of campaigns, each with their own map and goals. Campaigns will automatically finish when you have either achieved the goals or you have failed. Campaigns gradually get harder, and if you fail one, you get to try again. Warcraft II also introduced the mining of oil, better audio, and better opponent AI. Warcraft II was released for PC in 1995 and for Mac in 1996. Warcraft II is really easy to learn. It starts you off with pretty basic campaigns to help you pick up all the main game concepts, then it gradually gets more and more difficult. It's another game that can keep you occupied for hours, but the fact that it has separate campaigns makes it easier to step away for a break or sleep if needed. There is also a map editor allowing users to design their own game scenarios. And Warcraft 2 can also be set up as a multiplayer game using TCP/IP or AppleTalk. There is also an optional expansion set with additional maps and campaigns. For the cheaters, if you press the Enter key, type glittering prizes, then press Enter again, it will add 10,000 gold, 5,000 lumber and 5,000 oil. But if you are playing a multiplayer game, it will do this for your opponents as well. Needless to say, Warcraft was very successful and has evolved into World of Warcraft, which is available on modern Macs. To my knowledge, the old Warcraft II can only be played on older Mac hardware that supports OS 9 or earlier, or via emulation. So there are the first 5 of my 10 favourite OS 9 games. Are any of these games on your top 10 list? Please leave a comment with your favourite OS 9 games or any comments you might have about my selection. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing and keep a lookout for part 2 to see the other 5 games that made it onto my favourites list. Thanks for watching.
The town is under attack.